Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beers and Bullshit. My name is Cole. Thank you for joining me. Once again, we have what's going to be actually, if we were on Snapchat now, the best friend of the show because he has appeared more times than anybody else. Please welcome back Ciglen Wheeler. Ciglen, how you doing tonight?
We're doing great. Just here to talk with you, man.
Of course, we're just going to be, once again, spitting some bullshit, which is the second part of the podcast. First part is beer. Not drinking on anything here tonight, but I do want to shout out the Bruce Banner IPA here in Rapid City, South Dakota. On tap at several different places. A fantastic IPA, I believe, from the Dakota Point Brewing Company. If you haven't ever had it here in Rapid, go out and get yourself a Bruce Banner IPA. If it's not from Dakota Point, I do apologize. I forget the brewery off the top of my head. Lost Cabin. Okay. I love Dakota Point, though. I just can never remember the beer names anymore. There's so many.
Yeah, no, Bruce Banner is definitely Lost Cabin.
Okay.
We have that one on tap all the time at Mackenzie River.
Gotcha. So shout out Mackenzie River as well, where Ciglen works as a bartender.
Bartender, server, barback, I kind of do it all.
Yeah, just a jack of all trades. Swiss Army knife there from the back. So, yeah, once again, that's going to be the Bruce Banner IPA from Lost Cabin. My apologies, but also shout out Dakota Point Brewery. Getting in a couple of shout outs here as well. We're going to go with Top Wave Studios. Paul Wolf, appreciate everything you do. The Business Entertainment, Paul Geisler, Ethan, Bob, we love you guys. We're going to be kicking it off here with a mini episode tonight. Ciglen and I are going to kind of be talking TV sitcoms. It's something we all love. It's obviously been probably the biggest staple of television. When you're talking early enough, you're talking about shows like I Love Lucy. The Andy Griffith Show was probably another huge one. MASH, you're talking huge shows. What are some other classics that you grew up maybe not watching, but like your parents did?
Frasier. They liked Seinfeld. Everybody loves Raymond. I did not love Raymond.
I could always just think of his brother, just the big guy, just Raymond.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody Loves Raymond kind of had a charm, and my stepdad's a huge Seinfeld fan, so I have like an offset appreciation for Seinfeld. But I think as we'll talk with our personal lists, either obviously growing up in a different time, we have different lists. I
didn't fall in love with Kelsey Grammer until later in my years.
Kelsey Grammer's a fantastic actor, though.
Great.
Oh, phenomenal. So yeah, essentially what we're going to be doing is we're just going to kind of break down some sitcoms here. We're going to talk about a top 10 list I have from ranker.com, bringing up a couple of honorable mentions, and then we're going to break down kind of our own list and just give an overall summary. So ranker.com gave out a list of 25 of the top TV sitcoms of all time. So it starts with Gilligan's Island, probably is one of my honorable mentions. Ciglen, did you ever have much experience with the island?
We definitely watched a little bit when I was hanging out at Grandma's every once in a while, but did not see the whole series.
I know. I remember it from being very young because my grandparents, I guess, were big fans of Gilligan's Island in the 60s and 70s, as I think a lot of people were, not so much just because it's a good show that stands the test of time, but we also have to remember there was 2 or 3 TV stations back then. So almost gets, a lot of numbers just out of necessity.
Correct.
So fantastic show, though. Unfortunately, ranked 25 on the list. If we're going to move up to another one here as an honorable mention, I believe you had this on your favorites. We'll save the rank for later, but Scrubs came in at number 20.
Scrubs came in at number 20. That's respectable for all the shows that are available. I personally like Scrubs a lot. I think it's a great show. It set the tone for Grey's Anatomy to be a show and other shows like that. So Scrubs was definitely a necessity to the sitcoms.
Oh, I think it brought that humorous side to the medical world, which I remember my mom watching ER growing up, and that was intense. That show, was, blood and guts and gore. That was intense medical. You didn't really have like the funny side of the hospital until Scrubs came along, and was really revolutionary because we haven't seen, I don't think, a medical show like live up to that in the comedy realm since.
No, they've all been serious, as you honestly should be in the hospital, but Scrubs gave you that. There was something there about Scrubs. It connected with everything. They kind of had it all. And the love triangles and everything always kept you going and wondering what was going to happen in the next season.
Oh, I love Scrubs for that, though, because like you said, it blended, a little bit of seriousness, but mostly comedy with, some stylings of romance in there as well. So just a phenomenal show coming in at number 20. We're going to jump up quite a bit here just because obviously every show on this list is going to be legendary. But jumping to number 12 on this list, probably my last honorable mention here, is going to be Married with Children. I was a huge Al Bundy fan. Now, his jokes have not aged well. I will be the first to say that. But just growing up, first off, Al Bundy was absolutely hilarious. Were you a fan of Married with Children at
It was
all?
a great show. I would watch that one when I was younger. I watched a lot of my older sitcoms that my family didn't watch. They would always rerun them on CBS
Yep, or like TBS.
or
Married with Children was on for a while.
or the CW.
Yep. Oh, I
The
love the CW.
CW had Married with Children, Grounded for Life, King of Queens. There's a couple of good ones on there.
That was fantastic. Not even to mention some of the actual shows that kind of came on, like Supernatural started on the CW. A little bit more dramatic, but I always loved One Tree Hill.
Oh,
Growing up, loved me some OTH, and that was on the CW.
I consider that the greatest TV show of all time, in my opinion.
Okay, that's why this is why Ciglen and I are such great friends, because OTH is one of my favorite shows. I'll fight anybody who says the show sucks after Lucas and Peyton left, because I love all the seasons of OTH. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's not going to make it on this because we're talking sitcoms, situational comedies. One Tree Hill, obviously, very much a drama with fantastic comedy parts written in, though.
Oh yeah, it has everything. That show is top tier. I've watched it all the way through like 4 or 5 times. I remember the first time one of my friends mentioned to me he was watching it, and I kind of like made fun of him. I called him gay, and I was like, haha, you're watching a girl show. He's like, sit down, watch one episode with me. I've sat down, watched one episode. I restarted from episode 1 and never looked back.
Oh, the pilot hooks you, though. The pilot just hooks you.
I wasn't even in the pilot. I was like
Really?
in season 4.
Oh, you're so like senior year.
Yeah, it was like my buddy was watching it and they were on like season 4, and he was like, just sit down, watch one episode, and if you don't like it, then you can continue to make fun of me. So I sat down and watched one episode with him, and I went and restarted from the pilot instantly, and yeah, never turned back.
I remember, Gary Armour actually introduced me to it.
That is the exact same person.
No way, Gare Bear. So of course, Gary did it. Shout out Gary. I'm gonna have to tag him in this episode when it comes out here. But yeah, shout out to Allstate here, is what we used to call him in football, because he had a bunch of stars on his helmet this one year. I fucking love Gary for it, though. He's the one who introduced me to One Tree Hill. He came over to game one time, and he's like, bro, I gotta introduce you to this show. It's gonna change your life. Do you like drama shows? And this is like, I'm still like trying to act macho at 19, but like huge like rom-com and like just romantic, just comedy slut overall in like TV shows, movies, all of it. I love the cheese. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And he plays the first episode, and it had everything I wanted. It had a potential love triangle. It has basketball. It has, funny humor and everything.
And it has good basketball.
No, good basketball. Like Chad Michael Murray can actually fucking like drop it.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was no like scripted. Like they were actually like shooting some of those shots. Like you could see it.
I think that's still some of the best choreographed basketball outside of what Ray Allen did in He Got Game. Because obviously Ray Allen's Ray Allen.
Jesus Shuttleworth, shout out.
Jesus Shuttleworth, greatest of all time. But yeah, we kind of bent off Married with Children there, though. We went off on a little honorable mentions thing. Shout out to One Tree Hill. But moving on, Ciglen, I know we're going to go over a list here. I'm going to have a top 5. You went a little bit more in depth, and you had a top 10. Give me some of your honorable mentions before we break into the national top 10.
So one of my honorable mentions that would have creeped in the top 10, I don't know if many people have heard of it, but there was this one show on ABC called Better Off Ted. It was kind of like a lab. They were like a company that did like all sorts of different lab testing stuff. And it was just hilarious. And if it would have had more seasons, that would have definitely continued to be a top 10. But they canceled it, I believe, after 3 or 4 seasons. So that's definitely an honorable mention. Another one that I believe is probably going to be higher up in this list on the ranker is going to be Will and Grace. I have in my honorable mentions. It was a great show. I absolutely loved it, but it didn't quite crack my top 10. And then you gotta love Parks and Rec is one of my last honorable mentions for sure.
Parks and Rec is an amazing show. I've probably actually never sat down and watched it all the way through, but I've seen so much of it. I just need to sit down and watch it one of these times because I've seen a lot of it.
It's basically like watching The Office with a bunch of different actors.
Well, better actors, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Chris Pratt turned into a superstar.
We're going to talk about The Office later. I will explain my feelings on The Office in a bit, good or bad. But yeah, so your honorable mentions list, I think it's fantastic. Better Off Ted, very, very underrated show. Not a lot of people, I think, who might tune in would listen to or, watch. But, hopefully do after,
Yeah, after this, you could definitely go check it out. I believe it's on Hulu and ABC, so should be able to find it if you want to watch it.
Get out there, people. Yeah, get out there and watch Better Off Ted. Any last shows you want to promote before we drive into the top 10 here? That's not on your top 10 list, obviously.
30 Rock, if you guys ever watched that one with Tina Fey and Alec Baldwin, kind of like showing how NBC ran their situation.
Yeah. So So not so much a 30 Rock as Parks and Rec, but I still have enjoyed what I've watched. I know my parents are big fans of 30 Rock.
I watch that one a lot, and plus I love Tracy Morgan. You gotta love his comedic genius.
Fucking love Tracy Morgan. I mean, still timeless, 30 years, 20, 30 years later.
Definitely.
So, alrighty. Well, are we ready to dig into the top 10 here?
I'm ready when you are.
Sounds good. Well, I think you already brought up our number 10 show that is going to be Frasier. Why don't you kick us off on Frasier?
I mean, I loved Eddie, the dog. He was dope.
My bad. I just kicked Ciglen's mic there a little bit, so caught him off guard.
We're good.
Get set back up.
But yeah, no, Frasier was a great show. You had Kelsey Grammer. It was set the time. I believe it was on NBC for 9 seasons, maybe even 11. It was on for quite a long time.
Yeah, I believe it was on for a long time. I'll be looking that up over here, but I know it was on for a while because it started in 1993, and I think it went, about until 2001.
I was thinking even longer than that.
Yeah, probably. Like I said, let me just bringing it back up.
I almost feel like the farewell season might have been like 05, 06.
Yeah, because it seemed like Frasier was on, all throughout my childhood, and when it did end, it was kind of a big deal at the time.
Well, yeah, and then Kelsey Grammer kind of went more into like producing shows rather than acting in them.
I know, because you don't see him a lot anymore.
No.
Some of those actors, they go into that, and it's like, good for you. I understand that that's, probably less work, a little bit more, stable as far as like your home life and everything, but you hate to see good actors, get behind the camera more, I think, because the more and more you see that, I think you see them less on the camera. My personal opinion, not that they don't make great producers, but I'm selfish. I love great actors acting.
They're still writing the jokes.
Oh, of course. But anyways, I'm having a hell of a time looking this up here. But yeah, Frasier, fantastic show. They're going to rank this number 10 on the list just obviously because of, popularity, how it stands the test of time. Obviously, there's probably certain shows. I think I found a Business Insider list from earlier that the number 9 show was The Cosby Show. And I was looking back and it was 2011. I'm like, yeah, we're not going to use this list. So this one's a little bit more up to date from 2020. And I think it just shows that Frasier obviously stands the test of time, beating out ones that finished before it, like I Love Lucy, Married with Children, and The Golden Girls. So I don't know which one stands the test of time more, Frasier or Betty White, though.
Betty White's the GOAT.
Yeah, Betty White is the GOAT. I don't think she'll ever die. I think the day she does is when the world ends.
She might have been one of the reasons why I would watch Everybody Love Raymond.
Yes. She was fantastic on there as the mom. I love Betty White. Have you ever seen, The Proposal, where she's the grandma?
Yes.
Love her.
Classic.
But enough Betty White love, because we could probably have a whole episode on that alone. Moving on to number 9, we have Modern Family. Now, I will say I've kind of dipped my toes into this a little bit because of Ed O'Neill, because I loved Al Bundy on Married with Children. Modern Family is awesome. I think in 2009 it kind of came around at the right time, because obviously having the older couple with Ed O'Neill and Sofia Vergara, and then you have obviously the homosexual couple in there as well. I forget their names because I'm not a huge fan of Modern Family.
I'm really trying to think of their names right now because
I know
I was.
But I think culture wise is kind of where I'm more kind of like, no, this is just because I feel like in 2009, when you're talking about 12 years ago, you're talking about a time that when we were in school, kind of like, I felt like nationally, like, homosexuality and stuff was still very controversial. And a lot of the country, a lot of, the younger kids and stuff were starting to accept it, but the old guard was just kind of hanging on.
I feel like Modern Family definitely set the tone for like homosexual couples to like be on TV and like openly kiss, because after Modern Family it opened a floodgates. It almost seemed like every show had to have one, not in like a bad or a good way, but it helped bring them out and show them to light that they are people too.
Well, and I think it allowed for more personality too, because I feel like in TV you had two typecasts of gay people. You had the overly flamboyant gay person who was just so fucking out there that you just had to know that they were gay, right? Or you had, what Hollywood would consider the respectable gay person, the person that you would never guess was gay. And that's the thing, is I think Modern Family, from what I've seen anyways, has kind of generalized that. It's like, no, these are, people are people at the end of the day, regardless of their sexuality, race, creed, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And I think this is just one of those shows that kind of overtook what was an unfair Hollywood stereotype for decades.
Have you ever seen the pilot episode?
No, I have not.
You have to, when you're done with this, you have to go at least watch the pilot episode, because the pilot episode is hilarious.
I think I might just watch Modern Family, period, because we're going into the list. Frasier's something, like I said, throughout my childhood I watched. Parks and Rec is one I need to jump into more, but I've seen every single one of these shows that we're about to cover I'm starting to realize that maybe Modern Family is the next show I just need to binge watch.
You will definitely fall in love with Modern Family, but the first episode, it's like he shoots his sister, the brother shoots his sister with an airsoft gun. So they try to pencil in a schedule where the dad's going to shoot the kid with the airsoft gun back for punishment. So it's like 3 o'clock. I can't do 3 o'clock. I got band practice. All right. So you're getting shot at 4. And it's like after that, it's like I was kind of hooked, and that was something we watched. I believe it came on every Wednesday on ABC for years, and that was something our family did. It was every Wednesday we were watching ABC for like 4 hours because they had The Middle, Modern Family. Better Off Ted was in that first generation when that was going on. So yeah, great Wednesday lineup.
Dude, that sounds like a fantastic Wednesday lineup. I do miss that a little bit. I love the easiness and the convenience of like streaming and all that, but there's something nostalgic about still gathering to watch like a weekly show. Like I remember when I was living in a house with a bunch of my friends. It was 4 of us that were all working in the same restaurant. I think at the time Olive Garden, and it was fantastic. We'd have like American Ninja Warrior, Game of Thrones, Rick and Morty, all these shows we'd watch weekly, and it was like a flashback to our childhood when you all got around the TV, that one night.
Yeah, actually watched the commercials.
Exactly, or it's like, oh, get up and do everything you need to do in that 3 minutes.
Oh, definitely.
So, I miss those days sometimes.
Those are the good ones.
Binging is nice, but then you turn around and you're like, I miss the good old days. So, Modern Family, though, like I said, definitely probably something I'm going to add to my list. Moving on, though, is something we have very highly ranked on both of our personal lists. Number 8 here is going to be That 70s Show.
That is a classic, stands the test of time. You could put me on any episode and I could start watching from then and know exactly where I'm at.
Oh, exactly. I think that's the best part is if you really dive into the show, not only is every single episode unique, it has its own storyline, but somehow the show still manages to be like that lighthearted comedy that drives in drama, that drives in romance, and also keeps a pretty great consistent storyline over its entirety.
And you gotta love Red with I'm gonna put a foot in your ass.
Oh, okay. Who's your favorite character on That 70s Show? Like, let's do a mini top 5 here off the top of your favorite That 70s Show characters. Number 5,
Hyde.
I'd say number 5 is Fez for me.
Oh wait, are we going top 1 or top 5?
Five. So five fifth
first.
Favorite. Fifth
okay,
favorite.
Fifth favorite. Donna.
Okay. I'd say Fez. I love Fez. I think he grows fantastically as the show goes on. I love Fez.
Fez might be 3rd for me.
Fez is 3rd. Okay, so who's 4 for you then?
Probably Red Foreman.
Probably Red. See, I would probably put Donna 4th. I would put Kitty 3rd. I love Kitty. I think she is fucking hilarious. She reminds me a lot of my grandma for me, because like my grandma was a very sweet lady, but she had the quickest mouth on her. Like she could fire back the harshest comebacks and just make it sound like it was sweet as banana cream pie.
I bet number 2 is gonna shock you.
So who is number 2? If you say Randy, I'm gonna fucking kick you.
It's Leo.
Okay. Yes. I can respect Tommy Chong up there.
Leo is hilarious, man.
Oh my god, the boss is gonna fire me, man. Oh wait,
I am the boss.
I fucking love Leo. When they fired him for smoking weed, it was like, but it's Tommy Chong.
And I actually have my number 1 is tied. And again, it's gonna shock you because it's not Kelso or Eric. It's Hyde and Bob.
Hyde and Bob.
Bob is hilarious. The way he pisses Red off, he makes the show sometimes.
Bargain Bob.
He literally just slams the door in his face. Not coming over, Bob.
Yep. I love just Bob's naivety, because he just like, the one that sticks out to me is when they have the Veterans Day parade, and Red's a hard ass. I think he was in the Marines, and then Bob comes over and he's in the fucking National Guard, and I am not a member of the military. Respect to all military branches, but Red just shits on Bob the entire day. He's like, "Those beers are for men that served, Bob," and Bob's just sitting there and he's just just smiling the whole time, and then just goes off on Red at the end, almost deservedly, because obviously respect your military members, but I think that is probably one of my most Bob moments, is that right there, is when he's just taking it all day long and then finally unloads on Red at the end.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
So for me, number 2 would be Hyde. I love Hyde. I grew up, just thinking he was my favorite character, still stands the test of time. At number 2, but the older I get, man, I love Red Foreman. Red Foreman, I think, is just makes the show. Overall, he's the one consistent part that I think kind of never goes up and down, because that last season is kind of touch and go, but I think Red has always just been a great character who's shown development, but was always solid just because he was that hilarious hard ass of an old school dad.
Dude, he's made to be a grumpy old man.
Exactly, and he played it perfectly. So shout out to Kurtwood Smith for that.
Definitely.
So after our huge thing here on the 70s show, because what are we going to talk about later now when we bring it up on the list?
We're just covering our list after that.
Exactly. Number 7 here, we have Parks and Rec. I'm going to let you take it away because you love yourself some Parks and Rec.
Yeah, like I said, they were more in my honorable mentions because I just started watching it more recently, about 3 or 4 years ago. I touched and goat it when it was on NBC, but it wasn't something I would just sit down and watch all the time, because they kind of had, for a while, they just kind of had those weird branch out comedies that when I was younger, I just quite didn't get the humor, but now that I'm older, I understand it and I find it a lot more funny. So, yeah, but they've got some great actors to come out of there. I mean, you had Chris Pratt
and I think one person who made it is Nick Offerman as Ron Swanson. That is probably the one person I love like that, where I would go through and watch it beginning to end. I will one day, but that's probably just from my brief experience. Maybe not brief, but casual experience with it. I love Ron Swanson.
Oh yeah, how monotone he is. He's hilarious.
Yeah, I have a permit for this. It's just a fucking note that says I can do what I want. I want all the bacon and eggs that you have. Now here, let me stop you. I think you heard what I said is I want a lot of bacon and eggs. No, I said I want all of the bacon and eggs that you have. And that is my energy when I get into a restaurant, and I can respect that.
Classic scene.
Classic scene. So once again, another show I got a front to back sometime. Maybe I'll just go in a little NBC, ABC back to back here, go Modern Family and then Parks and Rec. Number 6 is a show I have a love-hate relationship with. It's The Big Bang Theory.
They are high on my list because I loved it when I was younger. It was one of those shows that was on CBS. It was on Mondays after 2.5 Men. So it was one of those shows that we were always watching, again, huddling around the couch as a family, watching Monday night comedy, and they would end it with CSI Miami. But yeah, The Big Bang Theory was hilarious. I mean, classic. Penny. He had to do it 3 times because of his OCD. So yeah, that show taught you a lot. And I mean, it was hilarious. You had everything, though. It was funny. It was smart. There was comedy. They had romance. Everything was up till the end. You had Raj, who couldn't speak to a girl for like 4 seasons.
I know. The character arc of Raj finally getting around to ask a girl out, I think, is one of the more underrated character arcs in modern day sitcoms. Because I love the fucking hilarious part of the entire show with The Big Bang Theory. That it's just it's a lot of nerd humor. And for me, someone who I wouldn't say like super nerdy, but like I do like just facts.
I like science and math.
And just kind of like little geeky jokes that go along with that. When you can mix, humor and education, I don't know, there's a little bit of me that giggles to that. And I think that's where The Big Bang Theory hits. It wasn't like a super favorite show for me, but it's a great show.
Howard is hilarious in that show, and you gotta love the Sheldon-Will Wheaton rivalry.
Oh, forever.
That makes the show go on. The bowling, my grandma died. Here's my grandma. Yeah, that show is a classic for me. It was, what'd they rank it at?
So they ranked it at number 6.
Yeah,
Big Bang Theory.
Pretty close to where I have it.
Yeah. So, I mean, just recapping the top 10 here, we got Frasier at 10, Modern Family at 9, That 70s Show at 8, Parks and Rec at 7, Big Bang Theory at 6. Pretty solid list so far.
Just for my bottom 10, I have Malcolm in the Middle.
A phenomenal show.
Great show. Stood the test of time. You gotta love Frankie Muniz.
And then I think one of the crazier parts is, why am I Bryan Cranston? The character development from fucking going the dad Malcolm in the Middle to then Breaking Bad.
And now what he's doing now is that lawyer show in Your Honor.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of that
I have
at all?
not, but I've heard it's good.
I haven't watched it all at all. I listened to like a little, he had an interview on Pardon My Take. I'm a big listener to that. And I think I'm going to have to dive deep one day and just crack down to watch it, because my aunt also told me it's a great show.
Could go on the Bryan Cranston bin, so there you go. So 10 was Malcolm in the Middle.
Number 9, I have it's should honestly be higher on my personal list, but for what it is, I have The League. It's basically a one-base show. It's all about guys who talk shit about fantasy football. It's an instant classic. You got some great people in there, and it is just a funny show. You see some professional athletes come through and do their thing.
I think, yeah, I love The League. Very casually watched it, a lot when I was younger, and it was first couple of seasons. It's a phenomenal show, but like you said, very one sport based.
The Chad Ochocinco episode, Child Please.
Oh, yes.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
And then rounding out, we have 8 is The Office. We'll probably end up covering that one soon. We'll be talking about that one. 7 was The Big Bang Theory. We already covered that. And for me 6 was Modern Family. I had them up a little higher than they did.
Of course, yeah, and solid list there.
Yep, so now we're on to the top 5.
So number 5 is one that we can break down right now because we have it very high on both of our lists. It's going to be, but number 5 on Ranker is going to be The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I will say, as I'm currently rewatching this show, because I have never actually seen it front to back, but I have seen every episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air just because of its Nick at Night time. And it was on all the time when I was a kid in reruns.
Taking advantage of that HBO Max, huh?
Taking hard advantage of it. Like, I'm on season 3 already. I'm so pumped. I love The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
We'll have to cover that one in a little bit.
I think we will because it stands the test of time. Maybe we'll save that for because we both have it high on the list. So we'll save that one. But once again, premiering in 1990, 31 years later, stands the test of time. If you are a fan of the show and you haven't, get HBO Max and watch the reunion special. Obviously, James Avery's not there, unfortunately, but fantastic throwback to the show.
Will Smith talking with the original Vivian, great,
amazing. I think that was probably my favorite part.
Oh yeah, you definitely have to go back and watch that.
Yeah. So shout out to The Fresh Prince. Once again, we'll be covering it. Number 4 is another one we're going to kind of skip through a little bit because we have it very high on the list. Number 4 is going to be How I Met Your Mother.
That's 4?
Yeah, that is 4.
Disrespectful.
So, I know. I think so too because I'll spoil it right now. Number 1 for me. I have probably watched this show more than any other show. It brings the perfect blend of episodic variety to where you literally have a new storyline every episode, but it still follows 9 seasons.
In my opinion, Barney Stinson is the greatest sitcom character ever created.
I would 100% agree with that. I have no argument there, not even playing devil's advocate.
Because tonight's going to be legend. Wait for it, because I hope you're not lactose intolerant, because the last part of the word is
dairy. Legendary, because that is exactly what this show is. Like I said, we're going to definitely do a deep dive into this one because Fresh Prince, How I Met Your Mother, 5 and 4, a little disrespectful to us there.
Yeah, I definitely have How I Met Your Mother at 2 for me personally. It's just such a great show. It has romance, comedy, everything, ups and downs, drama. You have no idea where it's going to turn sometimes. They bring in what? Ted has 4, 5, 6 serious different love interests.
Serious love interests that are prominent, characters in the show that actually make a comeback around in later times after they're done.
Definitely, like focus. Stella and I can't
What's
think
her
of
name? Is it Jillian, the fucking crazy one? The last girlfriend is probably my favorite one because she was absolutely batshit crazy. They call the cops, and then they're like, "Don't worry, girl, I got this." She turns out to be a cop.
Yeah, that one's hilarious too. And then the other one though is I can't think of the Victoria Baker.
Yep,
she comes around like 3 or 4 times. So they always keep that one running. I literally just power watched How I Met Your Mother like 2 weeks ago. So I'm pretty fresh and current on it.
I probably do a rewatch at least 2 to 3 times a year. And then just sometimes it's just a casual show I throw on. So
something to go to bed to.
Exactly. We'll do a full breakdown for those of you who don't know the show. But now that's got me a little fired up because the top 3 here, I just feel like we were disrespected because these are older shows, but these are not ones. These are ones that I have a fondness for. And I will say I like. But not a top 5 fan because number 3 is Seinfeld. So.
The jokes were very dry. They really were not that funny. Like Seinfeld was like that comic that was like airplane food, right? And people laughed.
I think it was in culture as I look back, studying this from the outside because I didn't grow up at the time. Late 80s, early 90s culture is just like so desperate to find itself in just anything. And I feel Seinfeld, looking back, I like Kramer. He's got some charm to him. But how it stayed on for how long it did, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a very dry show. I could not watch that one much.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of people like it. Think it's great for your, like you said, kind of dry humor house.
It's boring. There's not much in it. Like
God, you actually don't like Seinfeld. I'm trying to give it props here. Like Ciglen's, let's go straight shit street on it here. All right, let's shit on it then. Cosmo Kramer is a fucking asshole, a freeloading dickbag who I don't think he ever has a job in the show. And I've seen a lot of Seinfeld.
No, but somehow he always manages to have some kind of scheme going, selling some monkeys or some random shit at some time.
The worst part is I think the number one supporter of my show is my stepdad, Eric. Love him to death. He's probably been he's probably the first person to ever listen to this when it drops on Spotify every single week. And he's going to hate me for saying this about Seinfeld. But dude,
it's boring to watch. My parents, half of the time they were sitting in a diner just talking. Like, who wants to watch that? Or running up the stairs of an apartment to slam a door. I'm sorry.
God, who was the fat guy in Jurassic Park? Like Walter or whatever his name was, or the big dude.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
In Jurassic Park by all those little shit lizards. And Newman, they made him famous for being Newman. Yeah, I don't know. Like Seinfeld has some moments for me, but then, like I said, there's some moments where it just doesn't stick.
No, not at all.
Oh, wow. So shit on number 3 there. Fuck you, Seinfeld, premiering in 1989. Sorry to all the old white people who hate us for saying that. Number 2, another highly overrated show that How I Met Your Mother did a better version of, Friends.
Yeah. I honestly didn't include it in my top 10, but it should honestly be in my honorable mentions because my mom lived, breathed, and died by that show. It was on every day, even the reruns during the lunch.
I was born during an episode of Friends. During a live episode of Friends. My mom still tells me that to this day, 7:07 p.m. on March 29th, which was a Tuesday, which is when Friends was on. I was born during an episode of Friends. I will say I love this show, but it's overrated.
Yeah, they kind of just kept going with the same thing. I mean, you knew Russ was going to end up with
Ross and Rachel were always going to end up together.
Yeah, you knew that was going to happen. They just toyed it around for too long, and then they broke them up. And then Rachel realized she wanted Ross back after he was having a kid with another girl. Like, the show just dragged on forever. But I mean, great actors came out of it.
Well, Chandler Bing is still probably a top 10 character for me of all time. His sarcasm heavily influenced me.
Oh, hilarious!
Oh, I love Chandler Bing. I'd say he's the best from the show.
I love Joey.
Lisa Kudrow as Phoebe is another one, but Joey I'd say is my number 2. I love Joey. Chandler for me, I don't know. I just love the just fucking straight sass he has all the time. But I love Joey.
See, and like, I don't know, maybe Friends is one that maybe I should go back and rewatch for myself and try to get more acquainted with it as I've gotten older. Maybe I could understand the humor, but
HBO Max.
It was, yeah, definitely. I have it. I will take advantage.
Do it.
But my mom just always had it on, so I just never felt a need to watch it, I guess.
I would say if you haven't done an episodic rewatch of it, do it. Like, watch it in its order, in its entirety. Because it is good. They have, like How I Met Your Mother, these other shows, they have the episodic variety to where every single episode has this, unique plot. And then they still take the subplot of the entire season and they weave it all together.
Oh, yeah. And there's definitely funny stuff. I mean, I remember a lot of it.
So, yeah, like I said, take a rewatch. You might feel a little bit different.
I might have to.
Okay. So number 2 there, Friends. Now, number 1, before we bring up number 1, let's recap the top 5 through 2. We have The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at 5, How I Met Your Mother at 4, Seinfeld at 3, Friends at 2. Any more comments on the 5 through 2 ranking before we move on to number 1?
A little disrespect, but let's figure out what number 1 is.
All right. What before saying it, what do you think number 1 is?
Based on my list and ones that haven't been said yet, I think it's going to be some old show that I'm really not going to care about, but we're just going to throw a guess out there and yell 2.5 Men.
Nope. So 2.5 Men, actually, as I'm looking on this list, it was actually a lot longer than top 25. I'm looking through the 30s here. Malcolm in the Middle is at number 35.
Wrong.
Cheers is at 39. Everybody Loves Raymond's at 43. South Park is at 44. Ugh. Family Guy's at 49. So they threw in some comedies here that probably weren't sitcoms because we were going off of straight sitcoms. Man, wow, they are throwing mad disrespect to you right now with 2.5 Men. It is not.
They just must not like Charlie Sheen. But
shit.
That is a classic show. I don't care
Grace
who
is
you
number
are.
69 on here. The fucking disrespect is real.
I need to call the guy who made this list.
They made Monk 74 and they made fucking Will and Grace 69. Wow.
Monk would go in Crime TV.
Yeah, you like the USA Network and its shit years. Like, I love the shows, but like they were definitely B-rate. Anyways, we are getting off track here. That is not the case. Number one is The Office. All right. I'm going to give my take on The Office.
I should have guessed that.
Yep.
I fucking should have guessed that. Everyone loves the cult. The Office is almost like a cult following nowadays.
It is. My best friends, Job and Caitlin, love them to death. They fucking go hard over The Office. I mean, they watched it nonstop. I swear to God, every single time I'd stop by their house, they're just rewatching The Office. It's like, why don't you watch a new show? No, we're just rewatching The Office. I'm just like, dear fucking God, why?
That's my roommate with Grey's Anatomy.
Because this is The Office to me, okay? It is good. It is a good show. I do not mind watching The Office, but it's the most fucking overrated show of all time. So I'm going to go on a mini rant here unless you have anything else.
It got a lot fun. That's another one that got a lot funnier as I got older. I recently rewatched it, and it was, like I said, it made 8 on my personal list. Because there are some episodes that's just like, why are you doing this? Or I felt like you did this 2 seasons ago.
I think it ages well. I think the jokes are fantastic. It's a good show. Like I said, I enjoy watching The Office. My problem with it is this culture thing of just everybody blew up afterwards and everybody just fucking loved The Office.
Would you work for Michael Scott?
No.
I don't think I could.
No, I wouldn't either. But like where I was going to, like even where like my best friends loved this show, just to the point of when it got off Netflix or Hulu or wherever the fuck it was at, they bought all the seasons on DVD. And I'm like, cool. I appreciate your love for that. I got that kind of love for other shows. I just don't see where it's number one. I don't.
You could have just subscribed to the Peacock if it meant that much to you.
I know, but that's what I told them too. But you know, I mean, DVDs are forever, and I think they even got Blu-ray. Plus, it was a sentimental like birthday gift, so it worked out with my buddy giving it to my other friend who is a girl. They're together.
You gotta love Caitlin and Job.
I do love Caitlin and Job. Yeah, I had Job on here.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I fucking love him. So and her but yeah, that's the one thing is like I said, I like watching The Office, but I do not love watching The Office.
Maybe you got forced too much into it.
That's probably the case. It's probably every single time I went over there, I'm like, oh, let me guess, you're watching The Office. I'm just an asshole, so.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
All of my friends love The Office. Like I said, it became a religious cult. Everyone was following. I mean, you see people to this day posting, I'm watching the Peacock now because Hulu doesn't have The Office. And it's like, do you?
Right?
Didn't ask.
Like, there's a bunch of people about Friends with that when it moved to HBO Max, but then you saw like 10 times the amount of people talking about it with The Office moving to Peacock.
Yeah, but then you saw how great HBO Max was. And
fucking love HBO Max, which is hilarious because it's actually, well, we're on ranker.com here. It is the sponsor of this list. Should shout out HBO Max.
Great app.
So, yeah, let's go through the top 10 list again. We're going to flip it around, go backwards. Number 1, The Office. Number 2, Friends. 3, Seinfeld. 4, How I Met Your Mother. Number 5 is The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Number 6 is The Big Bang Theory. Number 7 is Parks and Recreation. Number 8 is That 70s Show. Number 9 is Modern Family. And number 10 is Frasier.
So do you want to go back and forth on our top 5, or you read yours, then I read mine?
I was about to say yes. You start at number 5, and then we'll go 5, 5, and bing, bang, boom. Go all the way to the end, even though we already know where 1 and 2 stand.
My 5th was 2.5 Men.
Yes, all right. Let's go for it because I love 2.5 Men. It is a phenomenal show.
I love Charlie Sheen. I think the character of Alan was absolutely hilarious. John Cryer did a great job playing him. And Jake, he stood the test of time forever until they made him serious and he joined the military.
Yes. I love 2.5 Men, and I think obviously Charlie Sheen and everything he went through, it was the downfall. I did kind of enjoy watching the Ashton Kutcher seasons.
I like the first 2 seasons of the Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, it's not.
He just kind of showed up on the beach, was trying to off himself, and Alan was like, "Here, buy my house. I'll live with you as like your in-living butler. You'll basically be my new brother."
Exactly. It's like, how can we make this fit? And they found a funny way to make it fit. They didn't, just lazily do it with like some other family member or something that was.
Yeah, it was like a tech billionaire. Felt like he had nothing to live for, and I thought they did great. And then for a couple seasons, it was kind of, and you got to love the stalker.
Yes.
Rose, was it?
I love Rose, because they said she eventually killed Charlie, right?
Yeah,
Before
they indicated she pushed him into a subway after some infidelities happened.
I wouldn't say 100% stalker because she stalked him, but then Charlie would sleep with her. So it's like very, very, very conflicting relationship.
The way she would jump on and off the deck and just not take the stairs, different.
Different. Oh,
Even when she'd have a boyfriend, she would make him jump off the deck too. Like that was one of the funniest parts of the show to me. And then like how Charlie was just a drunk jingle writer. And some of those jingles, if you watch the show, them shits stick in your head for a day.
Oh, they do all the time. So I think, like I said, the show was the best with Charlie Sheen in it. But obviously, when Ashton Kutcher joined in, I think a lot of people shit on it for the wrong reasons. So, moving on to my number 5, I would say for me it's going to be Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I love me some Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I know some people are fans of it, some people aren't. I absolutely love Andy Samberg's goofy ass humor. I think the jokes are amazing. I think there's a blend of little character variety. I love the Jake and Amy love storyline. I'm a huge fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
So that is one that came on towards the end of my family sitting down around the couch to watch TV together. So I only dove into about the first season and a half of that. But it was funny. Andy Samberg's comedic genius, everything he does, Lonely Island, Saturday Night Live, That's My Boy with Adam Sandler. I just love
underrated movie.
Definitely. I just love everything that Andy Samberg does. So that is definitely a great show. That one didn't crack my honorable mentions or my top 10 because I honestly haven't seen it all the way through. Maybe that's another one that I got to go sit down and check through because I loved the first season when I was watching it. Just life happened and stuff got in the way, and that one just eventually became a show I wasn't too focused on watching all of the time.
Yeah, I would hands down go through and watch that like one full time. I love Brooklyn. It's amazing. I mean, and the character development too, like the captain's character development, even though he's this like, just straight, monotone stoic person. I mean, the personality that he develops, like these little quirks and personality that make him one of the greatest characters on the show. But I can't go on enough about it, but I'd spoil a lot. I think you need to just jump on and watch it.
I will take that into consideration and do that.
Do it up. So that was number 5 for me. What is number 4 for you?
Number 4 for me is Scrubs. I mean, we've already covered how much we love the show, but I mean, JD, Turk, classic best friends. I mean, that's friendship goals right there.
Of course, yeah. JD and Turk. I mean, just the shenanigans they get into across, the entire show. I love it.
Oh yeah, they're always doing some weird stuff at the hospital, and that's just what made it funny. And like, they always, even like when like the pregnancy was happening, they were always like trying to find times to sneak off so they could still hang out, and that's like what made the show funny. It showed like their bromance.
Exactly. Yeah. Their bro relationship, if you would.
Oh yeah, they were bro married.
Oh, bro married, hardcore. So number 4, Scrubs, awesome show for you. My number 4, I think I'm gonna go with My Name Is Earl.
I feel so stupid that didn't even crack my top 10. I've probably watched that whole season through 3 or 4 times. That is a classic.
Love My Name Is Earl. If you don't know about it, it's about a just down on his luck guy who gets cheated on. Gets kicked out of his trailer park home, and then he's just kind of a dickbag and everything. Does a lot of wrong by people, and then wins the lottery and gets hit by a car. So he gets this list, and he has to go off and just undo all of these wrongs that he's done to people over time on this
list. What did he call the list?
I think it's just like the list.
It wasn't like no, because there was some word for it. Because he was watching a Carson Daly show. It was a Karma list.
Yeah, Karma list.
Because he was watching a Carson Daly episode while he was in the hospital after getting hit by that bus because he dropped his $100,000 lottery ticket.
Yep, and then he did one thing right, and what came back around the first episode, that $100,000 lottery ticket.
So he figured that if he continues to do right, good things will happen. And he tries, and yeah, that's a great show. You definitely have to watch that one. I feel so stupid that I didn't even put that on my top 10.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just kind of looking through this ranker list here and I, just makeshifting mine because I had most of it, but I needed a filler and I was like, yep, My Name Is Earl. That's definitely, one I'd probably put just a little ahead of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but because my dad and I would watch that every single Wednesday when it came out.
Yeah, no.
Like that was our show. That was the family sit-in show, which is like that was the boys' night.
That was definitely one of ours too. I think that was mainly me and my dad because my mom was working nights at that time at the hospital.
My stepmom was either working nights or she just didn't like the show, so she wouldn't sit with us. So, but most of the time she was working nights at the hospital.
Randy hilarious.
Fucking love Randy.
Have you seen his transformation as of
Dude,
now, though?
he is huge. Like, he's loaded now. I mean, dude's like yoked.
Bodybuilder style.
Yeah. I mean, good for him because starting off of what
Being
is his name?
Tuna?
Lafferty off of Remember the Titans. That's how I know him.
I thought it was Tuna. I thought they called him Tuna or some weird.
The big tuner. Yeah, he had some fat kid last name. It sounded like a fat kid last name, like how they called the fat pilot in Star Wars Porkins. To this day, still one of my favorite things. Jonah Hill, you need to make a origin story movie for that. But yeah, no, I love My Name Is Earl. It's a phenomenal show. But that's what I'm gonna rank number 4 for me.
That's a solid one.
Oh yeah. So number 3, moving on here.
We've covered this one heavy. I feel like we can just move past it after I say it. But 70 Show is number 3.
Same for me. Moving on here, we had the same 1, 2, but we switched it.
Yes.
Because number 2 for you is
How I Met Your Mother.
And number 2 for me is The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
And then number 1 for me would be The Fresh Prince. Number 1 for you is obviously How I Met Your Mother.
Gotcha. So let's go ahead and we'll start with your number 1. Let's talk about The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I was going to say, that's what we got to cover. So we pretty much covered How I Met Your Mother.
Exactly. So,
I mean, for me, The Fresh Prince is number 1 because I, just like you, just went and restarted it on HBO Max and powered through it real quick. I mean, Uncle Phil stood the test of time. But the show, the more I watch it, the show wouldn't be the show without Jeffrey the Butler.
No, Jeff is one of the, I don't think I appreciated him as much as a kid. Now that I'm rewatching it, I'm like, yo, Jesus Savage.
He's hilarious.
He's fucking great.
I'm off the clock.
Yeah, but...
And then clocks out.
Yeah, but... Jeffrey, can you do one last thing for me? What is it? Would you do this for me? I'm off the clock. I love Jeffrey. I think he's phenomenal. The only thing I don't like about the show, my only complaint, is the Aunt Viv switch. I did like the original Aunt Viv a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, again, you'll have to watch the rerun to the reunion to figure that all out. Yep. But the switch did happen. And I mean, the second one didn't do bad, but she was not as... I don't know. The first one, she just kind of set the nostalgia, and you definitely see the switch when it happens. Like, you notice the character switch.
You definitely notice the character switch. Like I said, not a bad thing. And I think Will and Carlton are probably the best character arcs in the show. That or Hillary is very underrated, too, because Hillary, obviously, you start to see as she's, in the beginning of the show, very much spoiled daddy's, little princess girl. But by the end, she still kind of maintains that posh Beverly Hills attitude. But she's, a smart, intelligent, reporter, and she's successful doing great things. She's starting to figure it
out, yeah.
Exactly. I think everybody kind of comes around to that. So it's the only thing that I would say negative is the Aunt Viv kind of come down after everybody else is just like always coming up. You know what I mean?
And then another underrated character is Jazz.
Oh, 100%. Jazz and just his consistent pursuit for Hillary.
Oh, yeah, whenever he comes in.
The shirt. The shirt is one thing we need to talk about with Jazz, because I noticed that in the episode, and I noticed that back when I was watching it before too. It was one of those little Hollywood rumors you got on the back pages, was anytime he wore that kind of yellow, oranges, and black shirt, he'd get thrown out of the house.
Yeah.
And you now I call it out every single time. I'm like, he's getting thrown out this time.
Yep.
So, but yeah, Fresh Prince, amazing show. And my number 1, the only thing I'm going to cover more about How I Met Your Mother, is the negative part about that show is the more I watch it, the more I don't like Ted.
Yes.
Yes, the more I don't like Ted. Because he's got this dorkish, kind of humor to him at first, but then you realize he knows it and he overplays the living shit out of it.
The reason why it is number 2 on my list is simply for the finale. Is it should be called How I'm in Love with Your Aunt Robin.
Yeah, How I'm in Love with Your Aunt Robin, and I just spent 10 years telling you this after your mom died of cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because the mom was probably, that's the second thing, is she was such a kick-ass character. But I think she had to be, because you only had her in for one season. You had to throw all of this greatness in just one shot there.
And how she became with best friends and fixed everyone's problem in that whole last season.
Exactly. It's just, I would almost appreciate if they just did another one, or had a season in between that, where the mom starts kind of getting introduced, and maybe you play that out differently, because it just, like you said, like I said, it feels rushed.
Yeah, no, the final season was definitely rushed, and then, I mean, the twist at the end, it was just different.
So, yeah, I I still have a little negative taste in my mouth because I'll go back, I'll watch the final episode. I think it's done so well, with the exception of the actual ending. I think to where they start to go years and years and years ahead, and where they kind of take this melodramatic turn of like the friendship goes down a little bit, and then it kind of comes back up. Barney and Robin kind of get split off, and it's like this Ted, Marshall, and Lily back again thing where like Barney and Robin, they split off, and so they kind of come in and, like these little moments over the years, but obviously at the end of the day, you always have the Porch Group. But like I said, I think you just bring in Ted's wife just to fucking kill her off at that point. Like, have a couple of babies and kill her off. Like, I think that's a little degrading.
Yeah, no. Or, I mean, they should have, at least in the pilot episode, they could have explained that the mother was dead.
Yeah, right. Be like, yeah, hey, have it be like when they first get home.
I know your mom's passed, but let me tell you the story of how I met her.
Exactly, because that was something that kind of came up more and more towards the end. You're like, why is the mom not there? Is she going to be in the end of the show? Or is it just like you almost wanted her to come in and just be like, oh, is your dad telling you one of his long ass stories again? And that would have been a great ending.
Yeah.
I would have taken that basic shit. Comes in, kisses him on the cheek. They have dinner. Barney and Robin are still married. Marshall and Lily and their 17 kids come over. It's fucking fantastic. Great way to end. Cutscene.
Would have been number one on my list.
Yep. It is number one on my list, but like still, there were probably, I debated on Fresh Prince. I did, and almost after this this rewatch I'm going through, it might jump. It might jump because I'm starting to rewatch. Instead of going on, I'll rewatch a couple of old episodes and then I'll keep going in season 3. But like, I keep going back to it because it's just that fucking good.
Classic.
So, anyways, shout out to the Sitcoms episode here. Is there anything else we were kind of missing here before we wrap up?
No, I mean, we kill it. I mean, one of the other honorable mentions I didn't cover, and I was surprised it honestly wasn't in their list, was Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
So Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where did I find that at? Let me scroll down here. It was actually surprisingly like low ranked on the list.
I think it's probably because it was on FX. The humor is a little forced, per se.
It's very in your face, but that's one thing I love about Always Sunny.
I mean, again, it was another one that everyone loved it, and I really wasn't that big of a fan of it. And then one night it was just on, and I kind of was watching some episodes. It's kind of like the same how I fell in like my love for Trailer Park.
Well, and I think Charlie Day is what makes the show for me, because I actually didn't really get into like backtrack watching it until I started watching I saw the Horrible Boss movie, the first one. And him and the Horrible Boss movies are fantastic. But It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia actually ranked number 28 on the ranker list.
And then another one that I was thinking about that I didn't throw in my honorable mentions was New Girl, Zooey Deschanel.
New Girl was actually ranked, bringing it up here because I was going to go to that one myself. Holy fuck, that is back here. That one is 89.
Wow.
For, sitcoms all time. And then the only other ones I'm going to kind of throw out is Saved by the Bell. Was a huge rerun fan of this.
Shocker, there was one year that for some reason, I don't know if it glitched on Apple or whatever, but I was able to buy the entire series for $22. So clicked on that.
Good for the Apple glitch, Jesus.
And then I was a big fan of Saved by the Bell because I think it was I was about 10 or 11 and they started showing it on Fox at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they started doing it real early.
But they ran it chronologically. So it was like you watched the episodes and they kept going in the series. So I was I was waking up in the morning at like 6 and watching Saved by the Bell and having breakfast. And then I think they put it was on Netflix for a little bit. And that's where I binge watched it. And then after that, I was like, yep, I'm definitely a fan of Saved by the Bell. And it was something my parents watched. So that should honestly, where was that on their list? That should probably be top
fucking
5.
Like 99. Way down on the 96.
If we're doing like these nostalgic throwback ones up there, you got to have that one higher. That was a great show. That set the tone for basically all of the Nickelodeon and Disney shows, if you think about it.
Huge,
but
like
they were
teenage,
still a
like
little
that
more serious.
That bridge TV show. Well, I think shows at that time still were allowed to kind of bring in a little bit more serious, a little bit more, kind of character arc. I think nowadays they're so dumbed down for fucking kids. Like kids won't even goddamn know what romance is until they're like 14.
Look at Mario Lopez. I mean, you got to think about Saved by the Bell is literally having their own spinoff right now on Peacock.
Exactly. Because people are still like, they're fans of it years and years and years later. A lot of these shows are coming back. Another one was Full House. Full House, you know, their spinoff is actually okay, but I think when you don't bring in Bob Saget or John Stamos, you know, any of the guys I think that made the original show, when you just kind of grow the kids up, it's cool and all, but I think you need the original stars of the show. But even still then, Fuller House is still a good show. But Full House, phenomenal for its time.
Yeah, no, and then like I mean, the principal Belford or whatever, he was hilarious.
Also, I do need to go back and make one correction at the end of the episode here. So I was just overlooking it earlier to where I said they didn't rank 2.5 Men. They had it at 16, so I was just overlooking it.
Oh, okay.
They did it at 16, so respectable.
So they did not
still,
do me dirty, as dirty as I thought.
You thought they like flipped you over? Did you just dry no spit?
Something like that.
Yeah, something raw. So, but yeah, yeah, sorry, I just had to interject with that there. You know, we are kind of coming up to the hour mark here, so I think we're going to bring her on down and wrap it up. You know, it was fun talking sitcoms here with you, Ciglen. You know, once again, appreciate you for joining me. Is there anything else you want to say before we get off the air?
No, I think we covered it, and I hope some people open their eyes to some new TV shows and maybe go out there and watch some of our favorites.
Yeah. And also, if you're listening into this, always, you know, shoot the beers and bullshit, you know, comment page or message, you know, any of your favorite TV shows that maybe we fucked up and we didn't list or we didn't even talk about that were probably on this ranker list. So we just want to appreciate you guys for tuning in. Once again, on behalf of Top Wave Studios, the Business Entertainment, this is Cole with Beers and Bullshit, and we are out.